Hi there, welcome to I Lone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Capricorn energy. And we're going to get out the cards, read the story, and kind of see how different people are harnessing their Capricorn energy. Just like all the other zodiac signs, we all tap into Capricorn energy. If you are a Capricorn sun sign, or high vibe Capricorn is kind of represented by the King of Pentacles. You've learned lessons in life. You've kind of detached from more layers of your worldly egoic nature than some other people in the world. Freed yourself from some things that used to maybe more manipulate you as you've gone through life. You'd want to be in relationships with other people who have learned some of those same lessons. And not everybody has. Shadowy Capricorn is represented by the Devil, the Two of Pentacles, still juggling back and forth, can't decide if they want to be more about themselves or do love or just be two-faced and be more about themselves or more about the world or more about, High vibe people who harness high vibe Capricorn know that love is what makes it all worthwhile. They want to be in jobs, friendships, and relationships with people who are loving and encouraging and supportive. And if it's a romantic relationship, it's supposed to be because of love, not because of some other reason, like just for the status or the image or to have sex or stability or security. And people who don't want to settle for the illusion, which is like the Devil, want to be in relationships with other people who don't want to live a life of illusion, who aren't willing to give up their dreams and are willing to keep putting in the work and effort to love and believe in themselves, maintain balance within themselves, and stand up for their truth. Yeah, so at the very end of the story, we have the Knight of Swords defending the Queen of Cups. Why? Because of the truth. The Knight of Swords is Gemini energy, about our dualistic nature. There's people in the world that, in their dualistic nature, their free will, they don't want to do love. You get hurt doing love. Could they like being in relationships, want to be in relationships? Yes, but they kind of want to hide behind their egoic nature, of their self-protective defensive nature. And they want to move forward with people who are loving, but they don't authentically want to be loving. Look like love, quack like love, talk like love, but they're not really people who authentically, emotionally invest in actually being authentic and loving people. It's like an authentic person being in a relationship with someone's cardboard cutout person. And they're not willing to do it. I'm also getting out a card out of the Costa Becoming deck. And you got comparison distorted what was already enough. Okay, that's also kind of anybody in their more worldly, shadowy Capricorn energy. When you're more about yourself, which if you don't really want to do love, but you want to be in relationships, you're kind of more just about yourself. I want to be in a relationship, but I want you to be loving, but I don't really want to have to do love. And then that's them kind of being not working together with cooperatively with people, having some hope and faith and belief and love. And it's always kind of looking for someone to indulge them in that way. And if they get in relationships with people who initially kind of bought into the illusion of who they were, and as time goes by, they kind of realize, wait a minute, the Five of Pentacles and Taurus energy can be our philosophy of life. Your truth, your philosophy of life is different than mine. You want to be in relationships to be in a relationship. And again, because you think that's just and fair, but you really don't want to do love. You don't want to invest in love. And the other thing can be is some people in a more shadowy Capricorn energy, which is about how we view victory and success. It's either more about them. They have to be able to be more bossy, more controlling, more about them, more indulged. And it gets worse and worse over time. I want more attention. I want to be more indulged. I want to be more lazy. I want you to indulge me more. Or they look to these things of the world to be what they think will make them happy, things they indulge in, or money or materialism or status or image. the thing is, they're looking to something that isn't the truth. And so that's why it's never enough. Enough is never enough. There's people that have more than enough. They have just and fair, loving people in their life. They have enough stability and security, but it's not enough. It's like, oh, well, you love me, but what about those people? I need those people to love me. You know, you're here, you stay here, but I want those people to like me or love me. It's like, if they had learned to love themselves, they wouldn't be looking outside of themselves for so much outside validation or to make them feel better, because they know how to love themselves. But that's kind of the end of the story. Everyone is going to defend their truth, their philosophy of life, and emotionally what they love. If they love being more about themselves, they're going to defend being more about themselves. If they love being more about these things of the world, they're going to defend being more about those things of the world. And the people who are more wanting to be in relationships, we all, high vibe energy is about being balanced. Do I want stability and security and people to be practical and grounded and logical, but I also want them to be just and fair and loving, a balance. I have my worldly nature, I also have my emotionally intuitive loving nature. I want a balance, and I don't need it all the things of the world and all that. Having enough is enough. And I believe, a philosophy of life that I believe if I put in work and effort into my truth and things that are aligned with my truth, that, things will work out for me. I could end up with much more abundance than I ever would have thought if I tried to go about it on my own game plan, right? So let's go see. What do we start out with? The Three of Wands, the Seven of Wands, the Ace of Cups, the Four of Cups, the Tower, the Five of Swords, and the Sun. And the reason that came out is because of the World card. So we have a lot of lessons to learn in life. Kind of about how our ego nature and all of that can manipulate us. And, it's a journey. It's a journey of learning these lessons. And, we grow up in the world and we're pretty inspired by the world. The Three of Wands is fire sign energy. So is the Seven of Wands, which, just like the Sun, is Leo energy. There's a lot of things we want as we are growing up in the world. There's a lot of things we want to go indulge in and go invest in that we are sure will make us happy. And, we can go through different phases of life that we could have learned lessons, and we view life differently. And at each one of those stages of life, just like when we lived life like a 15-year-old, 18-year-old, or 21-year-old, we defended those ways of living life, and we thought we had it going on, and we can kind of love the Ace of Cups can be, I love this way of living life, and I kind of like being about me and all these things of the world that I view as victorious and successful. But, again, if we haven't kind of learned to love ourselves in a more healthy, balanced way, we might have other people who offer us love, but if we get too caught up in being about ourselves or these things of the world, some other loving people in the Tower card could let go of being in a relationship with us because they could have mental conflict, because they could see that some people really are in a more shadowy energy within themselves, are just kind of more about themselves. And again, love is to be just and fair, and you're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. And if you're going to be in a relationship with them, it's to work towards this common goal, and everyone has to be equally willing to sacrifice some things for that common goal. But some people can think, well, no, you should sacrifice. No, you sacrifice more. No, I don't want to sacrifice any of my things, right? And then the Five of Swords comes after the Four of Swords of Libra energy, which is about the scales of justice. Other people kind of see the truth that I don't think this is just and fair, or I'm offering them love. The Four of Cups is Cancer energy. The Ace of Cups can represent all three of the water sign energies, the Cancer, Pisces, and Scorpio. You know, I want to be in relationships with people who have healed from like past pain and heartbreak, or got more balance within themselves so they're not more defensive and not more about themselves, who have been illuminated to the truth and who have learned some of these lessons. If I didn't say it, the world can talk about closing out these cycles in our life, that at all these different stages of life, we kind of have some of these lessons to learn. And we can go out in the world and we can move into neighborhoods, be in organizations, be in workplaces, get in social groups, and it doesn't really matter what age they are. We kind of realize that some people didn't learn some of the lessons that some other people learned along the way. So they might be full of themselves, they might be more manipulative or prideful or kind of deceptive or manipulative, try to get people to take those jobs, get in those friendships, get in those relationships. And initially they could present themselves as more loving than they really are. The Four of Cups can be where people are like, I'm not doing that cup of love, you know, but I'll present myself like I'm motivated by love, but I'm kind of hiding behind my back that I'm not really doing love. And that can be in their Cancer energy, which everyone harnesses, that they could use their emotions more manipulatively in order to get people to get in a relationship with them. Some people could use their sexuality more manipulatively. Other people could use their words, their charm, their looks, their social clout. It just depends on people's philosophy of life, of kind of what they think is just and fair, maybe in love and war, and other people, hopefully, if they've been more immature, more defensive, hadn't learned to love themselves, ran their life into the ditch, making certain things or people really important in their life, and they were kind of out of balance. Hopefully some people along the way learn some of these lessons, and that's like the Tower, because the Tower is like these things that happen in our life trying to show us this isn't going to work out the way that you want. You can keep doing it if you want, but you can go after certain people, you can live your life a certain way, you can be drawn and attracted to people. If you don't start to maybe maintain balance within yourself and love yourself and do, the fives can talk about change, see where you need to heal and grow and mature yourself and love and believe in yourself, you're going to stay kind of more tipped out of balance, and then you're going to get in a relationship with other people who are more tipped out of balance, and they're happy you're kind of tipped into fear, insecurity, immaturity, lust, greed, codependency, fear, whatever, because they are too. And, people go through that enough times and through these things that some people are like, I don't want to keep doing that. Something's wrong here. It doesn't work out the way I think it could work out. And I want to get to the truth of it. So people did that work within themselves. You know what? I can have love for people, but if I feel like those people are kind of defensive to me or they don't offer me love in return, I'm not going to invest as much time, energy, and effort into them. I see in the Tower card, it is kind of Aries and Scorpio, kind of, do we want to have more deep, meaningful relationships? Are we inspired within ourselves by love? Are we not? And so the Tower card also reminds me of Gemini energy, like the Knight of Swords, of our dualistic nature. We're either kind of have a similar viewpoint in life, wanting to work together with people cooperatively from love in a just and fair way, or we don't. And it can be really hard to accept the truth of some of the people in our life that we could have love for, whether they're brother, sister, mom, dad, or people that we work with, or people we've known forever, or whatever, that, they're just still kind of just more about it being their way or them being indulged or something. And, eventually people kind of see the truth of it, and getting out of your ego and seeing the truth of it is kind of what sets you free. Everybody is where they're at. It doesn't have, we can only take accountability for our actions. And if we do take accountability for our actions and We see the truth. Oh, there's some things I need to change, and I might be bossy or controlling or immature or prideful or stubborn. I need to be willing to change that. Then I communicate that to people, and they have the free will if they want to keep working with me, become friends again or not. And the people that I'm in relationship with, I can choose to. The high vibe energy is seeing the truth that I should offer truth and love to people. That's the highest energy to offer and to work with people cooperatively. And then the ball's kind of in their court. And if that's not their truth, I have to accept the truth of it. My dream, the Five of Swords, is Aquarius energy. My dream can't come into reality with someone if what kind of drives and motivates us, if we have these completely different lives, if I want to be in more just, fair, balanced, authentic, loving relationships as a driving reason for being in it, and the other people want it to be more about them, more about the world, victory and success is kind of what the Seven of Wands talks about, and that's more what they love, again, being more about themselves or more about these things of the world. My dream could never come into reality with them to begin with, and it's kind of working through that and seeing the truth of it. And some people have seen the truth of it. They have probably communicated their truth and love to different people in their life at these different stages in their life. Sometimes we could have known people that, of course, could be loving people and just and fair people, but, we can get in friendships and relationships and get to know people, and maybe our idea of the dream life and how we plan to move forward in our life is different. And some people could be like, well, they have their idea, or, and it could be that we feel like they never want to give birth to anything new. They more like to stay in their comfort zone. And we can all like to stay in our comfort zone, but if part of your dream is, I can like this job, I can like these people, but I kind of feel like maybe it's not quite aligned with my truth. Maybe some people are more willing to face their fears and step out of their comfort zone, and it is kind of something within them. And so, though there's some people that we could love, again, we kind of have different dreams and our idea of the dream life. And do we more like to stay in our comfort zone? Are we kind of willing to kind of go on an adventure? Are we willing to step out of our comfort zone? High vibe energies, maybe being more independent. Some people could be very codependent just to live their life the way they live it, or stay in a certain community or their friendship group or their friend group, or, and that's all okay. Everybody has the free will to manifest the life that they want, but not everybody views that as their idea of the dream life, and everybody has their own idea of what the dream life is and how they want to live, where they want to live. Some people could be much more driven and motivated than other people. That could be Capricorn energy. And other people are like, and so they want to be on like every committee and just very driven. And they equally would probably want to be in relationships with other people who are very driven. And, in life on the spectrum, there's just the people who are very much more driven. Can they be just and fair and loving people? Yeah, they're just very driven. And so other people on the spectrum can be very just. If you look at a spectrum of people who are just and fair and loving, well, everybody at every socioeconomic class and all that stuff can be a just and fair and loving person. But where do they want to live? How do they want to live? What are their activities they like to invest their time and energy into? What do other people like to invest their time, energy, and effort into? What do they enjoy? Where do they want to live? Where they don't want to live? It's all these things. And sometimes we have very loving people in our life, but they're happy living their life the way they live it. And for other people, that's just not. Can I love them? Wish them peace and love? Could they love us? Wish us peace and love? Yeah, but kind of how we live our life, just like a child with a parent, the way an adult child, kind of living completely different lifestyles. Can you love each other and respect that each other has your different lifestyles? Yeah. Does the parent want to go live their life or live where the child does, their adult child? No. Does the adult child want to live their life or live it where maybe the parent does? No. It's just differences. We're all different. And we're kind of trying to find people who we could feel are more on the same page as us. But we all have also run into people and been in jobs and situations where people maybe never want to do love, want to be in relationships, don't trust love, think love is just something that people use to manipulate them, could want to be in relationships with people, but maybe not getting in a more formal commitment. And, they just need to find someone else who doesn't want to get in a more formal commitment. Some people just always are, it's just going to be more about them. And they just need to find people who are willing to be in a relationship where it's going to definitely be more about them, you know? And if they can find someone who's willing to make it more about them, then they found the right person for them. Other people realized, yeah, no, that doesn't work for me. So, whatever the case is, next we go to the Temperance card, which is fire sign energy here. Here we had Aries, here we had Leo. This is Sagittarius. And sometimes we could really like some people with the love card here, kind of be drawn and attracted to people is what fire sign energy can talk about. Doesn't matter what zodiac sign they are, but we could find them attractive, charming, whatever. But, they got their own thing going on and they're and we have to accept that, right? We've all met people, known people in social groups, workplaces where we could meet someone, we could think, oh, wow, I'd really like to hang out with them more and get to know them. And they're like, I kind of got my own thing going on. I'm good. And, sometimes people say that to us and sometimes we're the ones saying that to someone else. Get out of your ego about it. High vibe people are kind of able to get out of their ego about it. In high vibe Aquarius, they kind of do look at life from a higher perspective. Some other people, it really could get them in their ego and really cause them a lot of mental conflict. Like, why don't you like me? And it really could take it more personally than they need to take it. It's high vibe energy, and this is how I also view high vibe Aquarius, is that you believe in a higher truth and justice and have more hope and faith that in yourself, in love, that you have more to work with than just these things of the world, your intuitive nature, your creative nature, your inspired nature. And we might know some people in our life who might try to present themselves in the world like they're that type of person, but really they kind of think, there is no higher truth or justice to aspire to in the world, and really human beings are the top dog. And, people who want to live their life like that can live their life that way. I think in a world where we have been given free will choice, I think at the big picture, these two energies battling with each other, which we refer to as devil and God. I don't think you really have to have that kind of religious belief if you don't want to. But it's a way of referring to it that we as a human being, as a vessel, have free will. We can harness more shadowy emotions, thoughts, feelings, actions, ways of living life, or we can harness more high vibe, just, fair, balanced, loving, motivated, inspired, treat other people the way we like to treat us type of energy. Those energies are all the possibilities with the seeds of the knowledge of good and evil within us to pick from, but they don't have life until a human being kind of chooses to embrace them, those ways of thinking or feeling. And some people don't like and reject the idea that there is like a higher truth or justice in the world. They kind of could have a little bit of a God complex, some of them. And so long as if they have a certain status or image in the world, or they're the most powerful person, or the most whatever it is that they think makes them important, social clout, power, influence, looks, or whatever, they're the boss. Well, I do think those people are going to have some rude awakenings, but because I do think that myself personally, so I guess if I'm not your type of reader, you have to go find someone else to listen to. But I do think there's a higher truth and power at play, and those energies battle with each other to kind of maintain balance in the world so it doesn't tip too far out of balance in order to give people free will choice. There has to be the choice of this versus that, and this and that and this and that. And so it can't get too tipped out of balance because it limits people's free will. And we have free will. So I think if things start to get too tipped out of balance, especially the people who don't feel like they're benefiting, that it seems to be benefiting the people who it does benefit. Eventually, those people, get upset and they want things to change. They want that cycle like to close and don't want to keep doing that. And then it's kind of, that's when we have uprest in our cities, in our states, in our countries, because some people feel it's getting too far out of balance and they don't want it to keep doing it that way. And they kind of rebel because they don't think it's just and fair. And people can be very stubborn for a very long time, and some people can refuse to change. It's like people who stay in a time warp, and the rest of the world kind of eventually is like, well, I guess you're right. And I guess that, it's just like with anything. Even when Elvis and the Beatles came to the United States, back then the parents were and adults were all up in an uproar and that they should be like the Beatles shouldn't be able to come to our country, or they should be put in jail, and Elvis should be in prison for the way he moved on stage. It's just like, some people are much more resistant to change than others. Other people, are bulk of the people are probably, if the bell curve, which I assume is correct, is that the bulk of the people are in the middle trying to decide between these different things. And then you kind of have the more extremes out there. And, eventually other people are like, I used to think that way and believe that way, but, because of, maybe being a little more balanced and their loving and compassionate nature, it's like, I can see where that's not just and fair for other people, and it does tilt more in favor of this, and that kind of stays kind of detrimental to those people, just like how women got to vote, and minorities got to vote, and housing and employment. And, it's kind of the people who aren't the ones maybe in a position of power and authority that are benefiting. But people who have that Taurus philosophy of life, that's why some of those people can be really defensive to love, because they have that way of viewing life that whoever seems to have more of what someone wants in the world is kind of the more privileged, pampered person in the relationship. And they don't want to be manipulated, so they don't want to do love. And the thing is that love is to be just and fair. They could think that way. That makes them very defensive to loving people in their life. You're trying to manipulate me. I'm sure you're going to try to control me with that. And they're going to go repeat some old patterns and probably find out that, they can go not do love with someone else. And the loving people are going to move forward with other people that don't have that kind of philosophy of life and are more willing to work together. It's like holding each other accountable, tempering, being more about yourself. The reason the temperance came out is because of the emperor. And the emperor is about learning all these lessons in life that my heart, my mind, my 3D nature, my creative, inspired, passionate nature, all four of them are equally a part of me. And some people somewhere along the line decided, nope, not love. No, I don't think that's important. It can just be used to manipulate me. That I'm not going to invest in. I am sure if I make it more about me, these things of the world, things I indulge in, use my emotions manipulatively, which could be more of a shadowy Queen of Cups. And the Death card, they're just more superficial and shallow. And love gives birth to new things. That's how we give birth to new versions of ourselves and overcome our fears and our insecurities and our past pain and heartbreak. And that's what some people don't maybe want to do. They don't want to put in the work and effort it takes to deal with whatever makes them be this way. And if they never put in the work and effort and aren't even inspired to put in the work and effort to figure out why they think the way they think, they're going to keep doing it. And as long as they keep doing it, depending on what kind of shadowy ways of being it is, just like if it's, say, an employer has a bad manager, the thing could kind of run, but maybe in a certain area where they have a bad manager, yeah, people keep leaving. And it's just like, but the employer, if they have a bad manager, they could be kind of have mental conflict about letting go of that bad manager and finding someone else to take over that role. And they kind of could indulge someone and then they get themselves in a pickle. They get more and more codependent on that manager because shadowy energy can be selfish. They don't want to share energy, just like people don't want to share love. They don't share information, and so then nobody else knows how to do those things. And then they have to balance out their emotions that they have a shadowy emperor in their midst. Someone, both the Three of Wands and the Emperor Aries energy, dealing with, they defended people who were more about themselves and who were bossy and controlling and didn't want to see the truth that, because again, they could have been more codependent on them. And we can get in friendships and relationships with people because we want these things of the world that we want, or because we love them and we have a problem trying to see the truth. We keep thinking maybe people will change. They don't change. We keep thinking, oh no, let's just balance out our emotions and be patient. I'm sure they'll change. But if their truth is, I'm defensive to love, and I think people should want to be in a relationship with me and kind of indulge me in my shadowy ways of being, as long as they have people indulging in them in that way, there is no incentive to change. And if you're not going to do it, I'll just go find someone else who will do it. Thinking people who are immature, shadowy, bossy, defensive, unjust, unfair, unloving are going to change. Well, how long do you have in your life to manifest the things you want to manifest in your life? I mean, high vibe Aquarius is keeping things in perspective, but we are probably only going to live 80 years. How long have we already been in friendship or relationship with some people and nothing is changing? And that's when some people also are like, this is unstable, it's unjust, it's unfair. People aren't maybe telling the truth. People aren't being authentic. People aren't being loving and encouraging. And then if there's some people I'd like to be in a relationship with or work things out with, but they're not working with me to want to work those things out, I have to accept the truth that they don't want to. So in the Temperance card, it is about our fire sign nature and our loving nature. There are these things of the world that I could like and people I could like and things that I could like to indulge in. But if those things are causing my life to be destabilized, or they're not good for my life, or some people I like but they're not in my life, I have to balance out the fact that, and Sagittarius is about higher learning and education, that I can like to do things or indulge in things that throw my life into chaos. I shouldn't indulge in those things anymore, or I should temper myself. It's kind of like things of the world are meant to be enjoyed. So take, for example, maybe drinking. Is it okay for some people, I guess, if they're not like an alcoholic, to drink here and there? Yeah. If you start drinking too much or too frequently or too much at one time, it could have some negative effects. And that's like the Tower card trying to show you you're kind of tipping out of balance. You need to get more balanced. Cool your jets. And then the Emperor is about making these better decisions in our life out of love for ourselves and wanting to feel more balanced within ourselves. Because to authentically be an Emperor, and the Emperor can, and the masculine cards can represent how people are presenting themselves in the world, and the action that they're taking in the world. To be a high vibe Emperor, internally, emotionally, you would have to be an Empress, where in your Libra and your Taurus energy, you're balanced within yourself, you're aligned more with truth and love, you have learned these lessons in life. And you're making good decisions in your life. And you don't keep staying in your ego about things. Can you be sad? Next, we have the Five of Cups and the Death card. Like the Queen of Cups, those are both Scorpio energy. Scorpio is fixed sign energy. It's kind of the emotional water sign that we connect in with when we're in the midst of a relationship. Can we be sad that some of those relationships didn't work out? Or maybe people passed away, or people moved away, or people wanted to invest their time, energy, and effort into different things, different activities, or ways of living life that we don't agree with. Yeah, we can be sad. But again, we're inspired within ourselves to stand up for ourselves and offer ourselves that cup of love and accept the truth. And then in High Vibe Leo, give ourselves the things that we wish other people would have given us. And just deal with the truth of it. Not every friendship or relationship or job is going to work out the way we want. We don't give up on our dreams. We just see that didn't work out the way I wanted. Well, Aries can be about the self. Life doesn't always work out. I'm not the boss, and the world doesn't revolve around me. I have to kind of go with the flow. And so, when things didn't work out the way I would have wanted them to work out, I pick myself up, I dust myself off, I offer love to the situation, and I move on. I don't let it stop me from believing in myself and believing in my dreams. There could just be some people that I had wanted to maybe be in the Ten of Cups, a long-term friendship or relationship with, or I was in a long-term friendship or relationship, or again, it could be people in our life that we had wanted to have a dream come into reality, and then for some reason it was cut short for whatever circumstances. And that can all take time. That's the thing with our emotional nature, is that when you are someone who really authentically invests in someone, it can when we're younger, we can be more immature and we just go look for something else or go indulge in something else to make us feel better. But that's kind of a reflection of our emotional maturity level. But hopefully, as people get older, yes, can people want to be in friendship and relationship? If there is people in their life that if people could get in a relationship right away, it could happen, but I think a lot of people, it can just end up, Scorpio can talk about how it gets really confusing, because if we really haven't healed from something in our past, and that can take time, and probably the more you emotionally invest in someone, the longer it can take time to be able to, in the Death card, emotionally detach. And so, and then some people, they don't want to go get in another relationship with someone when they know it's kind of like this card is facing that way, this card's going that way. It's this waiting to kind of get more balanced within themselves emotionally, to be ready to close out that old cycle. And then when they are ready to let go of that old cycle, the Five of Pentacles leaves behind the Four of Pentacles, which was a foundation in our Capricorn energy that we had been holding on to, and seeing the truth and accepting the truth. If I offered truth and love to work together with people in a just and fair way, and it wasn't working out that way, or they didn't want to work together with me that way, their dreams are different, blah, 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 blah. I accept the truth of it. And I'm now ready to move forward in relationships with people and have those new beginnings. And the aces can represent these new beginnings. And sometimes, like when we were younger, and again, sometimes we get in relationships with people who we do think are much more stable, grounded, emotionally mature, but they kind of have the emotional maturity level of like an 18 or 21-year-old, basically. And they could be much more defensive, much more about themselves, more prideful. We maybe didn't realize that those people, until we got further in the relationship, that, oh, you don't really do love. It looks like love, it quacks like love. I thought it was love. I kind of bought into the illusion of it. And then when you realize it's not, some people who are very much about their image and their status, kind of harnessing these cards in a shadowy way, they very much can put a lot of work and effort into having a certain status and image in the world. And they could seem very male or female, very attractive, very stable, very grounded, very victorious, very successful, have certain social clout from certain families or whatever, right? And they could... What people don't know when they get in a relationship with someone is that they maybe could just be in the tower energy, more unstable. They could have a win at all costs kind of personality, have a lot of mental conflict of being more authentically themselves, coming out from behind their ego. So they always kind of let their egoic nature run their life. And because their ego and their image and how they're viewed in the world, that's basically what they really have to offer people in order for people to get in a relationship with them. And that's what they also rely on and use to try to get people to get in a relationship with them. Now, high vibe people could have all those things too. They could have status, image, social clout, be attractive, be charming, be attractive, and all those things. But the high vibe people know that the most important thing they have to offer people, those other things could be, could they put in work and effort to be attractive, be charming, be smart, have an education, have a good job, yeah. But they know the most important thing that they have to offer people is that they're loving and that they're authentic and they treat other people the way they like to be treated and, empathetic and all those good things, right? But the shadowy people, more of what they have to offer are all this image kind of more about themselves. And so if some high vibe people get in a relationship with someone like that, and then they start to see, I feel kind of sad. That's what the Five of Cups can talk about in this relationship. Because, I kind of thought, maybe over time things would change and it would be a more balanced relationship and more balance between these things of the world that we put work and effort into having, but equally in our more emotionally intuitive, loving nature. And I wanted to have, in high vibe Scorpio, a more deep, meaningful relationship. And I kind of see that the other people, again, might have some unresolved issues from their past they don't deal with. And they want to be in a relationship with people, but because they haven't worked through some of those unresolved issues, they kind of move forward in their more worldly Taurus philosophy of life. I want to be in a relationship. I like being in a relationship, but I am defensive to doing love, but you should be willing to move forward with me anyway. Because, some of the people are people who do try to work with people cooperatively, and all that. They're just not willing to come out from behind their emotionally defensive, egoic nature to more authentically do love. But again, it can kind of feel like you're in a relationship and you're in a relationship with someone who's operating more from their cardboard cutout person. Like it's all a mental strategy. I present myself this way, I act this way so that people view me this way because I want them to keep moving forward. And they could like being in relationship, but they're just defensive to, they have a way of living life. That's kind of that fixed sign Scorpio, which can be a little superficial and shallow. And how can you have a deep, meaningful relationship with someone who's not willing to do a more deep, meaningful relationship? And people kind of feel emotionally manipulated and feel left out in the cold in the relationship anyway, because they feel and come to realize it is more superficial and shallow. It might work for them because they didn't want to do a deep, meaningful relationship anyway. It might have the status, the image, and look victorious and successful in a lot of ways, which you can enjoy too, which is part of the reason it can be hard to get out of it also, because we can all be tempted in our more worldly nature of our want for those things. But basically, you have to sacrifice in the tower your dream and your truth to be in a relationship with someone who they don't want to maybe be, to heal, to be more authentic and do a more deep, meaningful relationship. So they kind of get what they want. They get to be whatever it is, defensive to love, or bossy, or immature, or controlling. And they get to have a loving person and staying in a relationship with them. Well, that's an injustice. And that's, the divine is like the universe card of the tower, trying to show people this is unjust and unfair. You had a dream. And again, it's like trying to get, we wouldn't get in those relationships and stay in those relationships for as long as we did. We can have a lot of things in common with them. There can be a lot of things we like about them and love them and have similar interests and all these things. But it's kind of like a mismatched puzzle piece trying to stick together. And people didn't want to give up their dream. So even though they were sad, they could have communicated to those people that, if you're not willing to work through what it is that manipulates you to come out from behind your more self-protected defensive nature, ego nature, or any other shadowy way you have of being, to see, that's not just and fair. But some of those people, it's like, it could make them feel more stable and balanced within themselves. And for some of them, though, that just really is their truth. They are more about themselves. They are more about the world. They are more my way or the highway. And they just try to balance out their emotions that more loving people leave their life. But they're willing to sacrifice that. They're not willing to change. Not willing to deal with the truth. The truth sets us free, but you have to be willing to see the truth. And some people are like, no, I'm defensive to love. I'm not going to do love. I get hurt doing love. I'm not going to do it. It's where I draw the line. I can date you. I can marry you. I can have children with you. But if it gets to be where you, or I even start to feel like, oh my gosh, I feel like I could love this person, then it's like, I got to get out of this relationship. Or they move forward in something, but they could feel it is all these things that they could want, but in their more worldly, materialistic nature, just enough is never enough. And then we can all, shadow energy represented by the devil, all these things that can manipulate us. I don't have enough, other people have more. Maybe, I can love you and I can love this, but I'm afraid I won't have enough, or I really wanted more. That was my idea of the dream life, and so they could let go, and it could be lacking some faith and belief you know? Because again, they could think, no, I got to work with these things of the world. I don't have more hope and faith and belief in myself and in my dreams. And if I put in work and effort and have hope and faith and belief in the divine, that there will be enough. You know, you put in work and effort and believe that the divine will work with you to help you manifest what you want to manifest. Some people gave up on themselves, gave up on their dreams. And other people could have seen that. You're not willing to be more independent. You're not willing to do love. You're not willing to stand up for yourself. Because they, in turn, have their own shadow nature that manipulates them. And they have other people in their life and the world at large and everything that manipulates them. And they might not want to see the truth of all those different things inside of them and outside of them that manipulate them. But you could have seen it. But you can't make other people see it. You know, even if you did try to tell them, oh, no, those people are those things, they have my best interest at heart. No, they love me, and or whatever. And it's like, I don't think so. I think they try to control and manipulate you. You know, because we can always have other people in our life that don't want us to live our life differently than them. Don't want us to be more bold and brave and confident. Don't want us to love ourselves. Don't want us to go create the life of our dreams because they didn't. You know, and if you do, we're not going to be friends with you anymore. No, we're just going to we're going to turn our back to you. You can go. You know, and some people could know they have friends or family that are like that. And that if they were to live their more authentic life, you know, they would have to be willing, and the Five of Pentacles can talk about kind of going through this period of feeling left out in the cold. Because some people in your life, you know, like if you go live your truth and invest your time, energy, and effort into the things and people that you love, you live your life differently than we do. And you're not maybe letting us manipulate you anymore. And if we can't manipulate you, then we don't want to be friends with you anymore. And they're not willing. So again, people can be codependent on a friend group, their original family group, or, you know, I suppose people could have a workplace like that too. You know, you need to put in more hours, and, you know, I know you have family and children, we don't care. And, you know, they're not willing to say, you know, enough's enough. And detach from some of those people. And it's like, you know, if that's, I have offered you truth and love to still work together with you, but if that's not your truth, then you know, that you have your free will, and I'm going to move on with my life and live my truth. And that's what some people are doing, and they could have went through a period of feeling left out in the cold. But I felt, and worse, some people in shadowy Scorpio could have been intimidating, controlling. Also, that can be like shadowy Aries. But the whole thing is, sometimes if you get in a relationship with a more shadowy person, because it can't be that, oh, we had differences of opinion. Oh, you know, they certainly don't want people to know that they don't want to do a more deep, meaningful relationship. Because they, of course, want people to view them as someone who's more motivated and inspired by love. If they did something kind of immature, and that kind of ruined the relationship, they don't want to admit and have people know that they did something immature. So shadowy energy, again, can be trying to confuse people about the truth, about what happened, and try to stop other people from listening to their intuition. And that's when you can have people go some Scorpio scorched earth on you. Try to turn everybody against the loving people, to try to confuse them about the truth of who those people were, at least the people that are in their life and maybe their friend group and their family, to make all those people turn their back on you because you wouldn't let them be immature, be bossy, be controlling, or superficial or shallow. You saw through the illusion. And when you see through the illusion, that's when you're of no use to them anymore. And it's to try to get you to be a non-factor in their world and in their life. And some of you had some people who did that, which really can be confusing. Someone who you thought was a more just and fair, stable, grounded, loving person, and then, you know, they treat you like you're the competition they need to defeat. And then and some people are very shadowy energy, can just be competitive. Some people are very competitive. They have a lack mentality, don't love and believe in themselves. And so everything is kind of being jealous and envious that you maybe love and believe in yourself, that you have more hope and faith and belief in yourself. You have less things in your life that manipulate you. Why don't you have those things manipulate you the way it manipulates them? And they can get in very competitive energy. And they also can get in very fearful energy. They're codependent. They're fearful that you're going to want to keep loving and believing in yourself. And they already have things that they haven't worked through. Then they'd have to work through more things. They just want you to stop loving and believing in yourself and come back and do it the way you were doing it before. They want you to stay in dead energy and not move forward. They're not growing and maturing themselves and dealing with the truth of things, and they want you to quit growing and maturing yourself and dealing with the truth of things. Let the things that manipulate them manipulate you. And it's like, those things never manipulated me, maybe to the degree they manipulate you to begin with. I just didn't know it because you didn't tell me the truth. And I didn't know you had all these things that kind of manipulated you. You know. So, at any point in time in our life, we've had to let go of some things, balance out our emotions about that, move forward in our life. And the high vibe people keep offering love to themselves in the situation to keep maintaining balance within themselves, standing up for their truth, not going to indulge people in poor behavior, not going to indulge poor behavior in themselves, keep moving forward, defending their truth. And there's going to be other people in your life that is their truth. They're going to keep moving forward with you. You could meet people along your journey that have went through similar situations or are going through those things. And some people will just want to be the next shadowy person in dead energy, not love, who wants to be the next shadowy person to indulge in a friendship or relationship with you. And through this whole experience, you've learned to stay balanced kind of between your mind and your heart and your worldly nature and your emotional nature, to listen to your intuition, willing to get to know people. But, people stay in the friend zone until you get to know them better about and kind of get more of a feel for them of what their truth is and how they act, how they conduct themselves, if they seem to be more defensive, more manipulative, more immature, not very loving, full of themselves, whatever, and see who are the people you really want to move forward with more so and invest more time, energy, and effort with, and who you don't. And as you're moving forward doing that, as you kind of move on from the people that you meet that, oh yeah, yep. Can you still know people in your neighborhood, your workplace, and get along with them? Yeah. Do I want to invest more time, energy, and effort into them? No, because they've already shown me the truth of who they are. I'm going to keep focused on my truth and working with the people in my life who are more loving and encouraging and more independent of their shadow nature. And I think as you do that, other people in the world can see who's kind of more shadowy, more immature, more full of themselves, more defensive, more bossy. And, they're going to want to more align with you, just living your truth, how you act, how you treat other people, how you present yourself. What's coming up for the high vibe people they might not see coming? The Two of Pentacles. Why? Because of the Judgment card. So you wanted to get to the truth. There was something, and that could have been a reason why you let go and got out of a situation. You could have felt like you could have wanted to know why some people didn't move forward with something and why that ended. And it seemed like the other people really had mental conflict about illuminating the truth. And you maybe did listen to your intuition. It's like, I don't think you're telling me the truth. You know, it could be just like also like how people go to get a job interview and people ask them about, it's so hard when you're the person looking for a job because they always tell you not to say negative things about your former employer. But it's like, what do you do if the former employer, I guess I know I had a situation like that and I just said that I probably would be there still and I'd probably be working there, just that there was some conflict between some people at work that kind of made it very difficult to want to keep staying there. It created a negative environment and all that stuff. And yeah, some people it's like could have even distanced themselves until I feel like those people are really telling me the truth. I might feel like they're kind of or even feeling like, sometimes shadowy people, because someone else isn't indulging them, will try to move forward in another relationship just to try to manipulate those other people and waiting for those other people like, aren't you sad? Aren't you mad? Look, I got in a new relationship. You're left out in the cold. And hoping that those other people that they ended a relationship with will come towards them and want to get back in the relationship and kind of do it the way they wanted them to do it. And sometimes people kind of pick up on that. It's like, this isn't moving forward the way I thought it was going to move forward. I thought you had emotionally detached from that. I thought you were ready to move forward. And if you're not ready to detach from that and move forward, well then you need to work on that. And then, so you call judgment on something. And then the Two of Pentacles in Capricorn can be that you picked your investment up in something to get balance within yourself and keep your options open. So we went from like the 5 down to the 2, letting go of the 3 of Pentacles. There had been some people in your life at some time there that you had been working with in the 3 of Pentacles, trying to work with them cooperatively to move something forward. And you could have felt like the other people, some of them, that either they weren't being truthful, it wasn't because of love, wanted to still be indulged or something, and so you picked up your investment in those people. And there are consequences for our decisions, is kind of what the Judgment card can talk about. But I think if you, to the best of your ability, try to treat people in a just and fair and loving and encouraging way, being patient, but it can take years and decades for people to work through some things. And if they're not available or some other things going on in their life to work together with you and move forward with you, then it's kind of like, I wish you peace, but I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm not going to keep like sitting here being sad, dead, not giving birth to anything new because this isn't working out. I have other things and people. I'm just going to invest in all the different things that are part of my dream. I'm not going to get in a relationship just to get in a relationship. That kind of puts me in shadowy energy. I don't want to do that. So, and some of you could be in a relationship and this was just other outside influences and people. But I'm going to keep maintaining my balance and move forward in my truth. If that's people's truth, then let me know and we'll see how we get along. If it's not your truth and you want to repeat this pattern, go do it with someone else. I don't want to do that. So basically, you freed yourself. And I think you get to have this new beginning. And at every phase of life, we have lessons to learn. And I think you learn the lesson you're meant to learn. You get to go on to the next level of the video game of life to learn more lessons. And while you're doing that, these other people are going to keep defending repeating this old pattern, trying to get other people to move forward with them, buy into the illusion of who they are, if some of them are creating an illusion. And that's what they're going to do. And the next people who take that job, get in that friendship, get in that relationship, they're going to have to make that decision for themselves if they're okay with that or if they're not okay with it. What's coming up for the more people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Capricorn energy that they might not see coming? And basically, that's what high vibe people do. It's as difficult for them to move on and get out of their ego about these things, kind of to a degree, as other people. But they've been enlightened to the truth. I can stay stuck and regret and poor, pitiful me and feel rejected and feel left out in the cold, or I deal with the truth of the situation. Were we really more on the same page or weren't we? And if we were, sometimes, is to get out of our ego about it. We've probably been in relationships too where it's like everything did seem like really right, but it's that certain something special, Again, it's like some people we get to be friends with and they become like a best friend. We can't just make someone a best friend. We can date different people. With certain people or know certain people, we definitely have more of an affinity towards. And other people, we could really like them, could like be best friends with them. There's somebody, that's a potential dating prospect person. But that aspect of something isn't there, It's something we can't control, but there are some people who do try to really control things. What's coming up for the shadowy people they don't see coming? The King of Wands and the Page of Cups. Why? Because of the Six of Swords. Well, I think the danger when people are being kind of shadowy in a relationship, they can have people in their life who love them, that are trying to work together with them to move something forward. Again, they, in all three of their water sign energy, their Cancer, their Pisces, their Scorpio, they want to be in a relationship with them. They want to bring a dream into reality with them. But if the other people are like, I know you do, but we're just going to keep moving forward like this. We're just going to keep doing what we've always done. Nothing is going to change. There is not going to be any new beginnings of doing anything different. This is how we're going to keep moving forward. Well, the other people eventually invest in loving themselves. They have a dream. And to see that their dream isn't going to come into reality here. And they eventually pick up their investment in these people. And they balance out their emotions about the fact that this isn't going to work out the way they wanted. And they detach from it and depart from it and move away from it. And they can be patient for a long time to see what the other people do. And the other people, they still keep being more about themselves. Maybe go get in just a relationship with someone else who'll indulge them. And it all helps clarify the truth. It was always just more about them and how it benefited them. And them maybe being indulged. And eventually, over time, all that helps the other people heal and kind of see the truth. That some people in their life weren't who they thought they were. And then as they move forward in life, they meet people, the high vibe people in their life, meet other high vibe people. And they move forward with those people. And while the high vibe people in their life are moving forward in just and fair and balanced and loving relationships, they're maybe trying to find someone else to indulge or to indulge them. And that is a shadowy Taurus type relationship, philosophy of life. Well, if I can't find someone to indulge me, I better go find someone to indulge. Because that's the name of the game. But again, you can always be like, oh, I'd be willing to indulge you. Yep. No, I won't make it about me. Nope. Forget that. No, I won't hang out with those people. I'll make my life all about you. I'll indulge you. Well, again, there's no guarantee, even if they find someone who they could get in a relationship with for probably either just to be in a relationship or status or ego or image, if it's not because of love, again, other people, why are they in it? You know? I don't know. Depending on how shadowy people are, some shadowy people who thought the way to go about this isn't to do out love, because I'm defensive to love. I know I'll use my looks and my charm and my sexuality and my money and my status and my social clout. I'll use all those things to try to manipulate people. Well, for some, they're going to end up being left out in the cold because they have these shadowy ways of being that they don't want to see the truth of. Or they're going to be in relationships with people where they are going to have to indulge someone who is kind of bossy and controlling in their life, which also can represent their shadow nature of their ego. And their ego nature keeps having control of their life, and they never free themselves from it. And they always, these things keep happening in their life because they're more codependent on their self-protective, maybe defensive, egoic nature, or they keep indulging their more immature nature and things keep blowing up in their life. But they could get people who either that they have to indulge someone who's willing to be in a relationship with them because they could like people who are more codependent and immature. The player gets played. Or indulge someone who has these things of the world. People could end up moving forward, shadowy people, in relationships that aren't what maybe they would like to be in, but because some of them are so unwilling in the judgment card to take accountability for their actions, admit they made mistakes, temper their more immature egoic nature, they'll probably keep moving forward in something that it is all just about. It's dead. It's not based on truth and love. It's logical and practical. This is good for my ego and my image. I have someone willing to be in a relationship with me and stay in a relationship with me for their reasons. I'm willing to stay in a relationship with them for my reasons. And, it's just that shadowy people could think they could keep hiding the truth. But it's just how different people live their life. They see other people are very balanced, holding themselves accountable, moving forward, making good decisions in their life from love, being in friendships and relationships that seem very balanced and loving. And they could see some other people kind of moving forward in some things that they wonder why they are moving forward in those relationships. And some other people in their life could kind of see the truth that I don't think this is love. I think they either see that some people are very bossy and controlling and they want more immature, codependent people in a relationship with them, prey on people even who they think could have went through some situations that they feel would make them be more codependent on them. Or they see they abuse people and their loving nature. They never bring the dream into reality like they promise. Or they get in relationships with people more for these ego reasons of materialism. And I think that just the more high-vibe people in their life over time see the truth of it, and they maybe don't want to be associated with it. And then the shadowy people could be sad because they had been trying to hide the truth of who they were. And as people gradually see the truth of who they are, it's like, you're not who I thought you were, or you used to be that type of person, but somewhere along the way you changed, and not for the better. So there you go, Capricorn. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.